The work we do would be impossible without the dedication of roughly 75 students who work throughout Cal Performances year-round. Here's a peek at just a few of the critical roles they play and their take on what it's like to work at a performing arts institution on campus.
I'm Elisa. I just graduated from Cal and I majored in integrative biology with a dance minor.
My name is Mina. I'm a senior at Berkeley and my major is environmental science, and I'm also minoring in sustainable design.
My name is Jordan and I am a rising senior architecture student.
My name is Shane. I'm a music major here at UC Berkeley and I'm a rising senior.
So the house manager supervises several levels of staff. We supervise our student staff, so we have usher captains, and then the usher captains supervise our volunteer ushers, who are typically retired people who just have free time. And so I supervise those two levels of people as they do their jobs. And I'm also the chief problem solver. So if anything happens in the lobby, or if anything happens with the patrons, usually those problems come to me first, and I try to come to a resolution and make sure that everyone's happy.
We really just help out wherever we're needed. We anything from doing chair calls at the Greek by setting up chairs for performances, taking them down, being backstage before shows, or cleaning up after shows. If a group of dancers come in, we have to put in a dance floor. We just recently set up for a ballet, or before we set up for a ballet, so they get a specific type of dance floor that has it's called a spring floor. So usually it helps them when they do their jumps to bounce up and be super lively, and doesn't hurt their feet as much. So that's always really interesting. One time we had tap dancers come in and we had to build a sand pit for it. So we took wood and had to drill the wood pieces together and dump a bunch of sand in for them to tap.
Generally, we get here 2 hours before the performance. We have our little meeting, talk about what performance it is, who's performing, et cetera, et cetera. We'll go in and house check, just make sure there's no lost and found, trash, just make sure the theater's looking pretty spanking new. Then we'll meet with our volunteer ushers, kind of meet with them, coordinate. It's okay, you're going to be on the mezzanine, you're going to be down here in orchestra, here at the special request of the artist today. So we'll scan tickets, say this is where you're going, go up this way, things like that.
So I work at the ticket office, but normally what I'm doing is I'm either answering phone calls in our phone room, and I'm talking to people about their ticket orders, or helping them find parking, get parking passes, or I'm figuring out how to exchange their seats. And then other times, if I'm at the ticket window, then I'm doing that in person and I'm helping people out with those same things. And for shows, when I'm working the ticket office during shows, then we're selling people tickets directly or reprinting things.
I think the skills that I've learned in this job have probably been the most impactful during my college life. I learned how to problem solve under pressure. I learned how to manage lots of people and diverse groups of people. I learned how to be, confident in my own competence. I definitely didn't think that I would be a good manager when I got here, but now that I've been doing it for, a couple years, it's second nature to me. So that's really nice to see, because I think managerial skills and people skills definitely transfer to other areas.
I think probably the most important skill in the, working at the ticket office for anyone is probably just your people skills. And it's good to be able to know how to speak with people, how to, interact, make sure everyone's feeling their requests are met, and that you're also, of course, enforcing, your company policies and everything.
Problem solving, you can be presented with some interesting issues, especially at the Greek Theater, where we also work at, not just Zellerbach Hall. It's a 9,000 person venue. Do we have space on the ADA platforms? Can we put you in the standing room only section? Things like that. You got to make decisions like that on the fly, because you're separated from your supervisor. It's a pretty big venue. It's my dream to be a music teacher for middle and high school students. So I think being a problem solver and someone who can work a little bit more independently is going to be insanely helpful for me personally. But I mean, even just in any position that anyone would have, I think just being able to problem solve and help people out is a great skill to have and something you'll lose both within and out of your professional life. The arts is the best thing about being a human, honestly. It's great. I love music. That's why I've chosen to study. It's all I want to do the rest of my life is music. And this job is the perfect supplement for it. I get paid to go watch performances. Yeah, sure, I gotta like do work sometimes, but I get to watch the performances on the clock, which is the best job I could ask for, honestly.
So I was applying to a couple different jobs at the time, but this one seemed like super up my alley, just because I wanted to be in a theater still, and I was excited to see how much bigger of a scale it could be. So when I got the interview and when they hired me, I was like super ecstatic to kind of see some performances, which is like, I don't know, like the scale is so different because I've never worked with such a big crew before. I'm really enjoying getting to know the crew. I've befriended a lot of them. As I'm probably one of the youngest, it's really nice to hear about their experiences, like with the Cal performances. Some of them have been here more than 20 years, and kind of hearing about all their stories and their life wisdom, they've been kind of throwing at me lately, and I've been really like soaking it all in.
There's a lot of things that I enjoy about it. I really enjoy the problem solving. I think that like working under pressure is a little bit exciting for me, and being able to like help people with whatever they're dealing with, because oftentimes the problems that they're coming to me with are like pretty easily solvable, but they don't necessarily know that. So when I get to present to them a solution, often they'll be like super grateful, and I'm just happy that, we could find something that works for everybody. Yeah. But also seeing shows is pretty cool as part of my job.
I think what's unique about working there as opposed to lots of the other on-campus jobs is just that it's much more involved with like the outside community versus like working at, the library or like with other students, which, is definitely probably fun also to be able to interact with people on campus every day. But I think it's cool to be able to kind of like be a part of something that's both in Berkeley and also just like people you probably wouldn't normally interact with.
I think the people who work in an arts organization are just very passionate about what they're doing. I feel like there's like a lot of bonding that you can do over the kind of art you like and the kind of shows that are coming through.
Working in an arts organization is unique, especially with Cal Performances, because it's, I kind of touched on it earlier, but it's not, lack of a better term, mundane. You're getting to see these performances that you would usually have to pay a pretty penny to go see. It's a great experience, especially if you don't get a lot of, interaction with the arts. So through your degree and your major studies, it can be very easy to just get into that rut of, I do math and then I sit at a desk job all day. It's like, no, at Cal Performances, working, you get to experience a lot of really cool shows that I may not have ever seen before.
Honestly, it's awesome. Like my managers are really great. They understand that we're all students, and like they've always been understanding about like having to, last minute emergencies that happen. You can get coverage for things if you need to, miss a shift or trade shifts with someone or something like that. They're very understanding, very nice, just like really great to work with, honestly.
It's a little intimidating at first, I think, just because there's not that many students on the crew. But it's honestly like a really cool way to get your foot in the door so young.
For students, if you're looking for a job on campus, that's like right there. On campus can mean a lot of different things. But if you're looking for a job that's flexible, that isn't too physically demanding, is a lot of fun, has a lot of coworkers that you will vibe with. A lot of people that I've talked to actually use this job primarily for their socialization, like just being able to go to work and have fun and not be too stressed about it, or at least not bored, is a great thing. And it's a special job that you get to have at Cal Performances, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that's looking for an on-campus job that just wants to have some fun.
Yeah, well, I think this is a great job. Like, what other job do you get paid to watch shows? No other job. I mean, truly. Yeah, like if you like working with people, if you like, you know, having responsibility or learning how to manage people, this is a fantastic job. I feel so much more confident as a person, and I get to be around like all these creative people all the time. Like front of house is super cool. It's all students. And so you get to like have built-in friends into your job, but you also get to like meet new people, like adults with real jobs. You know, like a lot of our volunteers are older folks who've had like really interesting lives, so we get to learn about that too. I think it's like probably the best thing that I did in college, like honestly.